Dear students and my teacher friends, Namaskar. I welcome you to the presentation lecture on equilibrium pathways. Now, in this lecture, what we are going to discuss is that we are going to discuss about the equilibrium process. Equilibrium means the balancing process of our body, how we are balancing our body, and which are the brain centers that are involved in the equilibrium pathway. Now, brain centers are involved in equilibrium pathway, but the question is how the nerve impulse related the equilibrium reaches to this various brain center. So we know for equilibrium the organ receptor organ for equilibrium, collectively they are known as vestibular apparatus. In our previous lecture we have discussed this thing. Okay, for the equilibrium process, the receptor organs where they are present, so they are present in the vestibular apparatus, and in the vestibular apparatus utricle, saccule and semicircular duct are involved. So we can say, simply we can say, for the balancing or the equilibrium of our body, utricle, saccule and semicircular ducts are involved. And in all this receptor organ, the main cell responsible for the equilibrium which release the neurotransmitter are the hair cells. Okay, so we know about the hair cell. Okay, so in all this organ, utricle, saccule and semicircular duct, hair cells are present. So in this figure, see, here this is the utricle, okay, this one is saccule, and these three are the semicircular duct. These all are equilibrium receptor organ, and in all of them this receptor cell, hair cells, are present. Okay, and hair cell release the neurotransmitter. Now in this figure, see here, the, as you can see, the hair cell are shown, and with the hair cell, this cell which are making the synapse with the hair cell, we know these cells are primary sensory neuron, also known as afferent neuron. So this point, okay, see, bending of hair bundle of the hair cell in the semicircular duct, utricle and saccule. So when the hair cell bend in semicircular duct, utricle or saccule, due to this the hair cell releases neurotransmitter, and probably the neurotransmitter which is released is glutamate. Now this glutamate bind with primary sensory neuron, and now in the primary sensory neuron the nerve impulse is generated. Okay. So question is, now from the primary sensory neuron, which are also known as afferent neuron, where this nerve impulse are going, where they are propagated, where they are traveling. Okay. So this is the first point. Now you can see this figure also. Okay, in the previous lecture we have already seen this figure. Once again we are looking at this figure. So here the crista ampullaris they are showing, and you can see in the crista hair cell, and with the hair cell primary sensory neuron are connected, and they are this axon bundle, they are making the vestibular branch of cranial nerve 8. And now nerve impulse is generated and nerve signals are propagating towards the brain centers. Now we are discussing the second point. So here now you see sensory neuron are making synapse with the hair cell, and this sensory neurons cell bodies are present in vestibular ganglia. So you can understand sensory neuron having fiber make synapse fiber, or you can understand like dendrite. So the dendrite of sensory neuron synapse with hair cell, body of sensory neuron located in the vestibular ganglia. So here you can see the vestibular ganglia, this is the vestibular ganglia. Okay, so if I want to draw one cell and if I want to show you, so you can understand, see, this is, suppose this is the, this one is the hair cell. Okay, and now here this is the dendrite of primary sensory neuron. So the body is present over here, and now this we can say this is the axon. Okay, so the dendrite, they are synapsing, the dendrite of primary sensory neuron, they are synapses with the hair cell, and this hair cell releases the neurotransmitter known as glutamate. So these glutamates, they join with the primary sensory neuron, and now the nerve impulse is generated, and nerve impulse is entering, is propagating this way, in this direction. Okay, so now you can understand the sensory neurons cell body are located in vestibular ganglia. Now this sensory neuron, okay, along with the sensory neuron means afferent neuron, and there are also efferent neuron. In the previous lecture we have seen the efferent neuron, which were shown with the green color. Okay, so this efferent and afferent neuron together, they form the nerves. For example, over here you can see they are showing the ampullar nerve, they are showing. Okay, then utricle nerve, you can see saccular nerve, you can see, and all these nerve fibers, okay, they merge together. The axons means the bundle of axon or the fiber, they merge together and they form a branch, and this branch now known as vestibular branch. Okay, so you can understand from the hair cell, neurotransmitter glutamate releases. Glutamate, due to glutamate, the glutamate connects with the primary sensory neuron. Now in the primary sensory neuron, nerve signal is generated. This nerve signal propagate, and the fibers of the sensory neuron, they merge together and they form the vestibular branch. Okay, and here this is the hearing organ, okay, in the internal ear cochlea, organ of Corti, or the spiral organ. So with the spiral organ, now this branch is the cochlear branch. So as you can see, the cochlear branch and vestibular branch, these two branches are merging, and now they are forming the vestibular cochlear nerve. Okay, so now this vestibular cochlear branch in the vestibular cochlear nerve is propagating the nerve impulse towards the brain center. Okay, so the nerve impulse regarding the equilibrium, they are sended to various brain center. So now where these nerve signals are going related to the equilibrium. So now see over here in the third point, nerve impulses pass along the axon of this neuron. So these are all axon, and they are sending the nerve impulse to various brain center, and this axon together they have formed the vestibular branch of the vestibulocochlear nerve, and this nerve is sending the nerve impulse to the brain center. Okay, so this is the third point. Let me show you this entire figure. This was the first figure, and this figure. Now one more, see this. Okay, so here you can see in this figure also, in this figure you see the ear is shown. Okay, then you see with the blue color, what they are showing, vestibular branch of vestibulocochlear nerve. So where this branch is going now, so we can understand now this branch is sending the nerve impulse regarding the equilibrium to the brain centers. So which are the brain centers? Now the fourth point, see now here the most of the fibers, most of the axon, they synapse with the sensory neurons which are present in vestibular nuclei. So here these are all vestibular nuclei, and in this vestibular nuclei sensory neuron are present. So this axon bundle, okay, so these fibers, they are synapsing with the sensory neuron which are present in vestibular nuclei. Vestibular nuclei, see the name is written, and all this are the vestibular nuclei. So vestibular nuclei are the major integrating centers for equilibrium, and this center are present in medulla oblongata and pons. Now the fifth point, now in this figure, let me show you this figure. First you see the entire figure, you see. Okay, see equilibrium pathway. Okay, now this vestibular nuclei, see if you observe, this is this entire vestibular nuclei. So vestibular nuclei also receive input from the eye. So this is the eye. Okay, so vestibular nucleus receiving inputs, receiving signals from the eye, and vestibular nucleus also receive input from the proprioceptor. Proprioceptor, especially the proprioceptor which are present in the neck region and limb muscle. So in our hand and our leg, the receptors are present, and from this receptor the nerve impulses or the signal reach to the vestibular nuclei. So vestibular nuclei, simply we can say vestibular nuclei is receiving the inputs from our ear, from the eye, and also from our limb, that means from our hand and leg. Okay, so and now what this vestibular nucleus is doing, so vestibular nucleus is actually interpreting, analyzing all these inputs. Okay, so vestibular nuclei is receiving the input from eye, proprioceptor, in the neck and limb muscle, and now this indicate the position of the head and limb. Okay, so vestibular nuclei understand the position of the hand and limb. Okay, where our head is present, in which direction, and where our limbs are present. So vestibular nucleus knows that. Okay, now we are moving forward. Now remaining axons. Okay, see, this is the vestibular branch of cranial nerve 8. So most of the axon, they enter in the vestibular nucleus. Okay, but if you observe over here, see, remaining axons, they are entering in the cerebellum. Okay, so how these remaining axons are entering in the cerebellum from the vestibular branch? So here remaining axons enter the cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Let me show you. For example, here in this figure you see the entire cerebellum is shown. Okay, and this is the right hand side, this is the inferior view of cerebellum, and these are all cerebral peduncle they are showing. So here you can see inferior, this one is the inferior cerebral peduncle. So the remaining axon, they enter in the cerebellum through the inferior cerebral peduncle. So now there is bidirectional pathway that connect the cerebellum and the vestibular nuclei. So we can understand this like that the between the cerebellum and the vestibular nuclei, there are the axon bundles are there, fibers are there, and they are sending impulses from vestibular nuclei to cerebellum, and from cerebellum to vestibular nuclei. So this is the bidirectional connection, bidirectional pathway which is connecting cerebellum and vestibular nuclei. Okay, now the seventh point. Now see vestibular nuclei. Now vestibular nuclei, what this vestibular nuclei doing? Vestibular nuclei integrate information which it has received from vestibular apparatus, visual means from the eye, and somatic means bodily, that means from the limb. So vestibular nuclei is receiving the inputs from the vestibular apparatus, that means utricle, saccule and semicircular duct, eye and the limb. So from all this organ the information passed through information reaches to the vestibular nuclei. Vestibular nuclei interpreted, analyze this information, and then this vestibular nuclei is sending command. Vestibular nuclei, after the interpretation, sending the impulses to the nuclei of cranial nerves. So now vestibular nuclei sending command to oculomotor nuclei, trochlear nuclei, and the abducens nuclei of the cranial nerve. So here you can see in the figure vestibular nuclei sending command to abducens nerve nucleus, sending command to trochlear nerve motor nucleus, and sending command to oculomotor nerve nucleus. Okay, this is number 6. Okay, and all this nucleus, oculomotor, abducens, then the trochlea, they control couple movement of the eye along with the head, and by that they help to maintain focus on the visual field. Okay, so simply we can say from the vestibular nuclei the nerve impulses enters into this three nuclei of the cranial nerve: oculomotor, trochlea and abducens, and this three center they are controlling the movement of the eye and also the position of the head, and by that they are maintaining the focus on the visual field. Visual field, that means the area up to which we can see. Okay, that is the visual field. Now point number 8. So this is the 7th point of our discussion. Now point number 8. Okay, see nuclei of accessory nerve. So here this is the nuclei of accessory nerve. So here you can see vestibular nuclei also sending command to the accessory nucleus. That means vestibular nuclei also sending the impulses to the accessory nerve nucleus, and this accessory nerve nuclei help to control head and neck movement, and by doing that this accessory nerve nucleus maintaining the equilibrium. Okay, Now we are discussing the ninth point. Now, in the ninth point, vestibular spinal tract. The vestibular spinal tract conveys impulses down the spinal cord. So, vestibular spinal tract sending the nerve impulse in the spinal cord, and from the spinal cord there arise the nerves, and these nerves from the spinal cord innervate the skeletal muscle of our limb, of our hand and leg. So with the help of this track, okay, spinal cord is also involved, and by this the muscle movement, okay, and the bodily equilibrium is also maintained. So simply we can say vestibular tract along with the spinal cord also responsible for the muscle tone in the skeletal muscle, contraction of the skeletal muscle, movement of our limb is controlled. So let me show you this entire figure. Now, after the once the signal or the impulses regarding the equilibrium are interpreted in the vestibular nuclei, now vestibular nuclei sends nerve impulses to the ventral posterior nucleus. Okay, so once again vestibular nuclei sending impulses to ventral posterior nucleus, which is present in the thalamus, and as you can see from the ventral posterior nucleus, now the nerve impulse they are sent to the vestibular area, which is present in the cerebral cortex. So this area provide us conscious awareness of the position and movement of the head and limb. Okay, so this is the area, vestibular area. Finally, this area is receiving the nerve impulses. This area is interpreting all the inputs, okay, regarding the equilibrium. So now after the interpretation, after the involvement of this area, consciously we are aware about the position of our head, where exactly our head is located, in which direction our head is positioned, that we are aware, and also where is our hand are present, and what is the position of our leg, that we know, because the final information is interpreted by the vestibular area, which is present in the cerebral cortex. So with this we have completed our discussion on equilibrium pathways. I hope you have enjoyed this lecture, and I also hope that this lecture will be helpful in your exam preparation and also in your studies. My name is Manish Koshti sir. I am from Ahmedabad, India. Bye bye. Namaste.